Okay, I think we are live. Hold on, let me just see if the stream comes up on YouTube before we start talking. Anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and assume. Can you guys see us on YouTube? Do any of you all have YouTube pulled up? Okay, so you have YouTube pulled up, you can see us. Okay, great. So hi everyone, well guests. Welcome to our live stream 2020, the year of grounding and self-love. I almost said healing. I don't know why. Maybe there's just a lot of healing that needs to be done because of 2020, right? All of the craziness that has happened. Do you guys agree?
Yes,
I agree.
agreed.
Yeah. Let's do a check. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you guys feel about 2020? 10 being the best, 1 being the worst.
I'll say halfway.
Halfway?
Yeah, it's
Same,
been
about
a
a 5.
blessing.
How about you, ladies?
I was gonna say that like 2020 has like it's been a year, it's been a ride to be
Yeah.
honest. Like, but it wasn't like like it's been a good ride, like that ride that you get on and it's just like, oh my goodness, my stomach hurts so bad, but then you get
Yeah,
halfway through it and like you really start to enjoy yourself. That's where I'm at. I'm at the
yeah.
enjoying myself stage.
Like you don't know what's around the corner, but it's like whatever down that comes, it brings an up, right?
Yeah. I
Great.
probably
Okay,
agree.
so we're gonna go ahead and introduce ourselves for the people who will come into the into the stream, or the people who will be watching the rewatch, the recap. So we could start with Miss Ibeji Holistics, Miss Colleen. Oh, you're muted. Still can't hear you.
Oh,
There
sorry
you
about
go.
that.
It's
Yes.
okay. It's good
Good evening,
afternoon.
good afternoon, wherever you are around the world. Thank you for joining us as we speak on two important topics. My name is Colleen Gordon, and I'm representing my sister and my business, Ibeji Holistics. We're basically building and partnering on this business venture where we're selling herbal products as well as education to women on utilizing those herbs to bring more balance and a more healthy lifestyle.
Thank you. How about you, Drea? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Um, Hi, my name is Drea. I actually yesterday I published my first book.
Ooh,
Wow,
let's give
amazing.
Drea a clap.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Like, so I'm kind of just like trying to like, how do I introduce myself? I put out a book, so I'm really excited about that and just like documenting, my journey on my YouTube and my podcast, which is Melanin Madre on YouTube. But I'm here today just to like talk about just health and self-care and how it has helped to like really do like a whole 180 in my life and just
Mhm.
sharing some things that hopefully help other people. So yeah,
How about you,
excited.
Laquita?
Well, my name is Laquita. Thank you guys for joining. And I'm echoing, so it sounds weird.
Yeah.
And I am an intuitive reader. I am a mother of 5 or 4, and I got one on the way. And I just also want to talk about two topics that's very important in my journey that's helping me stay grounded and focused. And I just want to help share because it's important for everyone to know about these things.
Thank you. How about you, Santina?
Good night. My name is Santina Mckinney. I'm from the Bahamas, and thank you for all of the people that are tuning in around the world. We appreciate you joining us tonight. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about grounding in terms of getting rid of that financial anxiety that we all have. Running a business is not easy, but it's definitely doable. And a lot of it comes with being able to control yourself and your emotions when things get difficult. So I'm going to talk about that tonight.
Okay,
Thanks for
great.
having me.
No problem. Thank you guys for being here and thank you everyone who's watching. So we're gonna get right into it. Let's talk about the word grounding. When we hear the word grounding, what comes to mind? So many people have, their own definitions of what grounding is. So I did, look up the etymology of the word, meaning where did the word come from? What's the root of the word? And the root of the word is bottom surface. Well, bottom foundation, surface of the earth. It also means being in a deep space. Now, how that relates to wellness is that when you feel grounded, you feel like you are, rooted to a surface, you feel like you are stable, and you also feel like you are in a deep space of how could I put this? A deep space of stability. Grounded also means having training or instruction in a subject. And when we talk about being grounded in 2020 or being grounded in wellness, it's about having the instruction and the stability in wellness, in, feeling that mental clarity and not being shifted by what's happening in the world. So I'm gonna ask the beautiful ladies here, what do you guys think about when you hear grounding and why has it been important in 2020? And then we'll move on to how can we ground mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and we'll touch on financially as well, just to, have that holistic view of things. But before we do move on, I do want to say one thing. If any of the viewers want to know how to get more grounded in terms of being grounded to the earth, this book, Earth, The Pleiadian Keys to the Living Library, is a great book to read. It gives you information on the light codes and the different aspects of the earth that keeps us grounded. But now I'm gonna keep moving on to the beautiful ladies here. So Miss Colleen, could you tell us why is being grounded important and what does it mean to you?
Why I think grounding is important. I think grounding is important because when we're ungrounded, we can actually feel the difference in our bodies. We can feel it in our minds and we can feel it in basically our whole being. And when we're ungrounded, we tend to sometimes be rash or we tend to feel like we no longer have control over our experiences or reality. Like I remember personally when I just started my spiritual journey and just getting the influx of information and data and all of that, there were times when I felt super ungrounded, where I would feel like I'm not connecting to my physical environment. I could go on and explain like my personal experience, because but everybody has or goes through different experience when they feel ungrounded. So I feel it's important to ground ourselves to feel a certain level-headedness, whether it is you're on a spiritual journey or just generally. And during this pandemic, we know that a lot of people were sidetracked, and with the fear and the anxiety and everything coming in, we leaned more on like that feeding into the ungroundedness and the fear and everything. So I think it's important to always bring ourselves back down, always bring ourselves back to our core, onto our center. So that's why I think that when you understand and you know how it feels to be ungrounded, you would appreciate and actually look and seek out the feeling of groundedness, because it's so important for us on our journey. Although sometimes you can be celestial, but you also have to appreciate the mother earth feeling,
Practical
that type
things.
of yeah.
How about you, Drea? When you hear grounded, what comes to your mind and why has it been important during 2020?
So groundedness, it's immediately like when you were reading the definition, it reminded me a lot of like mastery and just like a form of, just coming into that mastery with yourself. And prior to 2020, my life kind of like just like flipped on itself, and it kind of left me in that space of feeling very celestial, like, oh, okay, I'm just about to fly up off this earth because I'm just not going to be able to do this, you know. But like then I got pregnant and I had a baby, and that grounded me to this earth, like in the literal sense that it kept me from, like, I was just experiencing a lot with mental health. And once I, you know, became pregnant, it was just like a whole grounding experience within itself, where it kind of just centered me, like, you know, this is kind of beyond me at this point. I'm like laying roots here, and I'm multiplying within myself here. So, you know, 2018, I'm pregnant. 2019, I'm like a mom for the first time. And then 2020 comes, and it's just like, sis, you have already gone through like 2 years of just like whatever. So, like, you know, a little quarantine and chill is not going to really, you know, make or break you. But it did put me in a space of real mastery of not of understanding, like, who am I here, you know, because I know who I am when I'm like exploring and I'm beyond in my mind, and I'm not attached to this earth whatsoever ever. But what am I when I am grounded and I am here, and what do I want to build while I'm here? So 2020 has been a doozy, but it's
Yeah.
been wonderful.
Thank you for that. How about you, Laquita? What comes to mind when you hear grounded, and why has it been important for you during 2020?
Okay, so grounded to me is just balance. You know, we all have a purpose. We know that we're called here to do something, but a lot of times, like you said, the energy shifts, things shift, and it's important for us to maintain balance. You know, understanding that there's an ebb and flow of all things. And as being a parent of four, and you know, doing homeschooling and things of that nature, it's really hard to maintain that balance. But that's where the grounding comes in, because that's when I have to take time to myself to recenter myself and say, we have a purpose. No matter if things are going, you know, crazy, but you know, balance is key to me, and that's
Thank you
what's
for
helping
that.
me move forward.
Okay. And Santina, how about you? What comes to mind when you hear grounded, and how has 2020, how relate to that?
Well, what comes to mind when I think about grounding is being rooted, being stable, being in control, calm, connected. How is it coming to play for 2020? 2020, I think, definitely took everybody by surprise, threw off a lot of plans, caused a heavy anxiety. And so when you think about grounding, it's just adopting new habits for the new environment that you're in that's still going to allow you to feel balanced, like Laquita said, and in control. Like I said, it was easy to kind of get into a spirit of depression, feeling like you're being controlled by governments and the like. But being grounded is knowing that you have a purpose, you have something to do, and regardless of what's happening in the world, you're still in control, and you can take that control. Grounding also to me is somewhat of a natural medicine, something that no one can do for you, something you have to do for yourself. So it's definitely going to be taking out time for yourself to stay in a certain mindset that's going to keep you focused.
One thing I would like to add, I feel like 2020 has allowed for a sense of grounding during that quarantine phase. I know I could only speak for myself because I live alone. I know a lot of people live with different people, so it might be different if you live with someone. But being, living alone, it gave me a time to center myself, meditate. As you said, Drea, find out who I am, find out why I'm here. I spent a lot of time outside. I spent a lot of time reading this book, Earth, and just connecting to the earth. And also, Laquita, you talk about balance, and I feel like one thing I want to mention is for the people who were affected by the quarantine, in terms of like they need that balance with society, they need to interact with other people. Do you guys did any of you guys feel the need? I'm sorry, guys. A call was coming in. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Did any of you guys feel that need?
To ground?
Well, to still want to, like, okay, what I mean is that for the people who are more social, people who are not so into themselves, did you feel that anxiety to still, go out, or did you feel more grounded that you had more time to spend with yourself? That's what I mean to ask.
Well, personally, um, I have two personalities. I'm very outgoing, but at times I also love to be by myself. I love spending time with me. So 2020 was a balance of that too. There are times where I felt like I really need to get out of the house. Yes, I mean, because quarantine was still fairly new, and being home for so long or so much of the day, um, it was different. But for me personally, I took it with stride because, like I said, there are
Mm-hmm.
times where I love to be one with self, and so I just use that
Yeah. Any of you
time
guys want to
for
add
that.
to that?
It was good for me. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm normally a social person, but it caused me to be more of my introvert side. And with that being said, with the kids being home, I got a lot of one-on-one. And because not only did it affect us, it affect the kids as well. And it's important for parents, to dive in and make sure our kids are okay. We're going to school
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
not being social and not doing the things that they
Mm-hmm.
normally do. So it's
Mm-hmm.
all about balance.
Mm-hmm. As you mentioned, kids, Laquita, how have you passed on that wisdom to your children to be grounded during this time, with the pandemic and wearing the masks, all of these changes? How have they adapted, and how have you adapted as a mother?
Um, well, because of the rumors and people are saying, things are happening because of this. And they got the social media, the TikTok, so they hear a lot of things as well. And it's very important for me to, sit down with them and let them know the reality of it. Staying safe, staying together, staying in your studies, staying grounded within yourself because you're around your siblings 24/7. You're around me. I think they also watch me because they're like, how is she maintaining? You know, I'm
Mm.
I'm 5 months pregnant, so and I have a 1-year-old son, so it's
Mm.
really hard to stay grounded. But I think I
Mhm.
am a model for that as well, and I think they
Mhm.
pay attention. They watch me do yoga, and like
Mm.
I'm always going off in my backyard and meditating, and it shows. Like
Beautiful.
I don't want to pressure them to do things that they're not comfortable doing, but I feel like I'm planting seeds. So
I love that
Wonderful.
response. So we're gonna go ahead and touch on how do we stay grounded mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. So you ladies, you guys could touch on any one of those or two of those. We already discussed that. So you guys have the floor. Miss Colleen, you could go ahead and start with any of those ones you want to touch on.
Hmm. How to stay how to stay grounded. I would think what I want to talk about how to stay grounded mentally, because that's one thing that I had to learn how to, like, keep myself mentally grounded, because what I realize is that sometimes negative self-talk is, my enemy. So I find myself sometimes just going off the radar,
Oh
just,
yeah.
saying things, and then, like, I have to reel myself back in, like, hey, calm down, stop. So what I really do is, just try to be an observer in my mental conversations, in the conversations that I have with myself. So from that, I develop a practice of, instead of just trying to stop myself cold cut, I would always just try to observe and try to assess or analyze, like, why it is I think this way, I'm
Mhm.
saying this, and so that is one way I can say that one could try to stay mentally grounded, a technique that they can use to stay mentally grounded.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Um, in your business, I know you guys use a lot of herbs, and not even only in your business. I know you personally, so I know that you guys use a lot of herbs in your personal
Yeah.
life. How has herbal remedies allowed you to stay grounded mentally?
Well, as we know, there are herbs that, well, herbs have different properties, different actions. So what I would do is depend on how I feel. And like for example, like when I experience a lot of anxiety, or maybe just feel like I'm on edge, I would use my knowledge of like herbs. So like let's say I would go to my kitchen or like whatever I have, and I would try to see which herbs that could help me to calm my mind. So whether it is chamomile or chamomile, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but whether it's chamomile, or I brew up some local bush tea, that kind of thing, just to calm my mind,
Mugwort.
get myself, yeah, like a mugwort. But well, I never really consume mugwort, but I use
Okay.
it. Yeah, but I would encourage anybody to use, like find out the properties of the herb and find herbs that cater to our mental support. Like maybe you might try not only consuming it, but you might use burn some lavender buds or sage. I would
Yes,
sage your
yes,
place.
yes.
So I just
Got my
love
sage right
finding
here.
things. Yeah, I love finding things around me that would just bring me back
Yes,
to to that space of groundedness,
yes.
because it's so easy to like hit off the roof, go.
Yes. Just to touch a little bit on the herbs before we move on to Miss Drea. Lavender, as you mentioned, lavender is such a beautiful herb to use when it
Yeah,
comes to
very beautiful.
anxiety. There were
Mm,
nights where I had, a lot of mental anguish, and y'all, I steamed some lavender tea and I fall asleep so good. So lavender is
yeah,
a very
girl.
good herb for teas, and also mugwort. I do consume mugwort tea. It helps me with
Okay.
my meditation. A blend of mugwort, cinnamon, and lavender. That's a very powerful blend for people who have constant anxiety, and you need that little easier way to do it. Not just
Mm-hmm.
meditation, but let's say you want a practical way to do
Right,
it. You want something to
right.
consume. So thank you for that response on the herbs. So
Yeah, no
Drea,
problem.
okay, yeah. Drea, how about you? How do you stay grounded mentally, spiritually, all that? Choose one, or speak on more than one if you.
Um, so the main thing that I've been doing lately, and it seems very simple, but it's very useful, is taking baths and being intentional with water. So like whether it's just like waking up in the morning and just boiling a large kettle of water, and I have these really I don't have one near me right now, but I have these really big like almost a gallon glass mason jars, and I'll fill that up with water, and it's hot at that point. But just being intentional during the whole process, like I've steamed this water, it's cleansing itself, and now I'm letting it cool, and I'm putting it in the refrigerator for later, and then tonight I'll actually drink the water, and it just helps me like flow through my day, because I did something so early in the morning, and now at the end of the day I'm able to consume it, because I am with you on the the consumptions. Like I do love, I smoke mugwort, and I'll mix it with different things. I'll smoke passion flower because it has like a like hibiscus passion flower. I'll crunch that and put that in a blend, because it's very like that love vibration. Because sometimes I get my imbalance comes from like environmental factors. So like I can be grounded in my home all day, but if outside is like doing a lot, because I've always lived in like a city type area, I'll feel that. So I have to like, just get back into my natural state. So just like, water, taking baths, adding, passion flower to my baths, or just, smoke, just doing something just for me that is just like, okay, like, even if somebody drinks my water, I'm not going to act like, you can't drink it, but it's just like having something that I know is just for me. It really helps.
And that's like spiritually.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel you. Thank you for that. How about you, Laquita? How can you remain grounded, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally?
I have to take time
Mm.
for myself. Sometimes that means getting up earlier than everybody, not taking that extra nap. Um, I love water, baths, going by lakes. Um, I'm also a herbalist. I sell yoni steam, so I'm all into herbs, and I love smell is really good for me. Smell keeps me grounded. Um, Different types, frankincense and myrrh, like all those different
Oh
types of
yeah.
smells. They don't like it, but I'm like, listen, I have to, mommy has to, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, smells really work for me, and just taking that time out for myself to meditate, to really center myself when things get hectic, and
Yeah.
basically.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Santina?
Oh, well, I like to ground spiritually by prayer. Um, Taking time out to talk to God, to talk to the Creator, the One Source. Mentally, grounding. I like to do a lot of self talk. Um, Sometimes I'm my hype circle. I say what it is that I need to do if I have an agenda on the day. So I'll say, simple things to myself to keep myself encouraged through good self talk or affirmation. And physically, or I think it's both physically and spiritually. I guess it's because I'm from the Bahamas too. I love the ocean, so I love to do
Mhm.
what I consider ocean grounding or ocean meditation, pushing my foot in the hot sand,
Oh yeah.
going to the ocean, floating in the sea, just being one with nature. Specifically, the beach definitely is. I feel one of the places that really make me feel centered. So I could always have a happy day at the beach. I've never been angry at the beach. So
Yeah.
I'm a earth sign as well. So when it comes to
Nice.
physically grounding myself, I would definitely take a trip to the beach and sometimes just sit at the shore and let the waves run,
Mhm.
the current
Mhm.
run through me. And I find that I always feel better after that.
Okay, thank you for that. We're gonna talk about financial groundedness, but before we touch on that, I also want to say another thing that, well, a way that I remained grounded this year was not being quick with my emotions, but being quick with reason, and also not being judgmental to others, because you never know what someone is going through. Sometimes it hasn't, like, nothing isn't wrong with them, but knowing what's going on in the world may be impacting their mind, and they may, project that onto you, and you don't even know that. You don't know what's going on with them, and you may take that personal. So that's another thing. How I've remained grounded emotionally, really, is not taking things personal from other people. um
Yeah.
That's wow, that's
and
great.
hmm And reading, reading, I love reading. I try to read my Bible daily. That keeps me grounded, meditate daily, in the morning with the scripture, and then at night, and also pull some tarot cards here and there if I need to. And as Santina said, praying and also meditating. I think you already said meditating. So these are great ways to remain grounded. I'm just looking at my notes. I have notes all over the place, but I think that's all I wanted to say about that. Now, in terms of financial groundedness, Santina, you are a businesswoman. I'm not you alone. I mean, I know other ladies here are businesswomen as well. But Santina, as a businesswoman, how did you remain financially grounded during 2020?
Well, financially grounded, definitely my customers had a lot to do with that. Making sure, and lucky for me, I do have a service that allows my customers to purchase on an annual basis. So I focused a lot on my annual contracts, and for this season, this time where business was really slow all around, I was thankful that I did have some annual customers that came through at the right time. And so definitely I give contribution to them. And then overall, taking the mindset that nothing's never lost for me. So there are persons that I'd reached out to earlier, even before the lockdown. Our country reopens recently, and one of the things I did was I went back at some of the customers that um, I was in discussion with, or I had sent proposals to. So knowing that even though the situation might have slowed down some things, I never took the mindset that it was going to stop it, or certain things
Mhm.
not going to come through. So
I love
being
that.
financially grounded and being in control of it is just always the mind of what it is that you're going to do, and then making sure that you have the confidence and the courage to kind of push through. And
Mhm,
then
mhm,
also, there are times where you feel a little down. There are times, even in running a business or whatever it is, being a mother or whatever task you have at hand. But like I said, financially, it would really work towards writing down my goals, sticking to
mhm,
them, and then sometimes just pivoting on things that didn't work and trying a new strategy. So I would say those are the things that kind of
mhm.
kept me financially grounded.
I love that. There was something you said I totally forgot though, but I'm gonna move on because it will take me a while to remember. remember. But another thing that I want to touch on in terms of being financially grounded. Oh, I remember now. I'll come back to it. Um, there's a lot of ways people could make money online, and I think a lot of people tapped into that during 2020 being on quarantine. A lot of people had time to look at the ways to make money online. That's like drop shipping. You could also make money through Fiverr selling your services. Weebly is a website like maker, a website maker for your business. You could put your products on there if you're a small business and you're wanting to get your products out there, but you want to have a cheap way of doing that. Weebly is a cheap website builder. Also, teespring.com is a merchandise um site that you could create merchandise for your business. So all of these things. Now, Santina, you talked about like telling yourself that it's not gonna like your business is not going to end. I think that's very important to take away from 2020. A lot of people, when they heard quarantine, oh my God, scarcity consciousness kicked in. A lot of people thought that a lot of things were going to end. They buyed out all the groceries, they buyed out all of these things, and then they were left with no money for the rest of the quarantine period. And a lot of them had to file for unemployment. Now, I'm just, making a general speculation. There could have been other things that contributed to that. But what I'm trying to say is, as the viewers or anybody who come across this stream, keep that in your mind that even if things may seem like it's gonna be bad for a while, we're gonna get out of it, and we have to get out of that scarcity consciousness. In economics, what do they teach us? Resources are scarce, right? That's what they tell us. But in reality, it's not really like that. Like, were you gonna say something, Colleen? No, you could go ahead.
No, I just agreeing, just agreeing.
Yeah. So that's one thing that I really want any of the viewers to keep in their mind, like to get away from scarcity consciousness, not just, oh, we're in a pandemic, let me go ahead and buy all the things out. No, let me think about what I need in the future and how I could save money and put money into my savings and not just spend, 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 and then during the quarantine I had no money for myself. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, any of you want to say anything else on this topic, or should we move on to the second topic? Nothing
Move
else?
on.
Okay.
To move on.
Okay. So, we're going to talk about self love. Yay. This
Yeah.
thing that is kind of hard to do at times. We're our biggest critics. I don't know about y'all, but as Colin said, like, I get into this mental thing sometimes, and sometimes I have to curse myself out. Like, who the hell do you think you are speaking to yourself like that? You don't even speak to other people like that. When you look at other people, you see beauty, you see grace. Why don't you see that within your own self? You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
before we get into the topic, though, let's look at the meaning of the word so that we have a general context. We're going to look at the meaning of self, and we're going to look at the meaning of love. So, self means, basically one's own person. Love means affection, attraction, to care, and to have desire. So, self love basically means having attraction and desire for your own person. And sometimes it's so hard for us to do that because we don't think that we are built beautifully. We see all these flaws in ourselves because we know ourselves and because we know our ups and downs. It's very hard for us to desire ourselves, right? So 2020 has taught a lot of people how to have that desire for yourself. Because guess what? You're not out there running the streets. You're at home. What else can you do? You can only be with yourself. You know what? Know what I mean? So we're
Yeah.
gonna go ahead and speak on how to stay motivated with yourself in terms of self-love and also self-care tips that we could take from 2020. So, Miss Colleen, lead us off on that.
Self-love. Sometimes I don't feel worthy to even talk about that. No, because like, I mean, yeah, we all been through it, and sometimes I can, see ways where I didn't really, show myself any type of love. So, but bringing it back to like the times where I did is what I had to do was just that accepting the parts of me that I hate and dislike and wish I could change, because then I had to realize that I can't change any of it. And then like through that now I started to see myself as holistically, that I have good qualities which I should celebrate and ensure that I always exhibit those good qualities. But deep down inside, and even with like in other words, like 1 minute, let's just say 1 minute I would love the hell out of somebody, and then the next minute if you get me vexed, I cussing you out, I just letting you have it. But that's just me, that's just my personality. Doesn't mean that I suddenly like change my emotions or change my feelings towards you. So I just started to realize that's just who I am. Yes, I mean, I started to realize that emotional control, I lack in a bit of emotional control, but I just started to accept that this is me and this is something that I need to work on. So that's one thing I can say about self love, is just accepting yourself, the bad, the good, the ugly, and just be yourself, be who you are, and then you're going to love yourself like more and more every day, because you're no longer on the side of thinking, like I'm no longer on the side of thinking, well, like I have a checklist, I need to work on this, I need to work on that, that type of vibe. So once I started to like see myself as a perfect how I am, where I am right now, but still working towards a better version of myself, I started to see a little self love starting to
Sipping.
seep through the yeah, creep into the cracks of my darkness. Yeah, but for sure.
And one thing, you speak about acceptance, but one thing we know that acceptance doesn't happen overnight, right? It's a day
Doesn't.
by day process.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing 2020 has taught us a lot. Even as you said, like you accept the positive and the negative aspects of yourself. And I feel like a lot of people were, bombarded by the negative aspects of themselves. Again, we only had ourselves to deal with, right? And if let's say we live with somebody, we're in a companionship, we're in a partnership, we're in a relationship, we are seeing these people daily, for those people who are seeing these people daily. And we see the good and the bad of them, right? So all of that deals with self-love and self-care, because we have to accept them for who they are, knowing that they're on their own process, their own journey, and that in turn helps us, kind of have that mental clarity about our own journey as well. Sharing that
Yeah,
love.
that's true.
Mhm.
That's true. And like to me, I feel the more you do the work, or like the more you work towards loving yourself, you start to realize that that person's not that bad. You start to see things about them that you could at least like you brush off, you can love. Like I live with my twin sister, and trust me, like we have a good how to say it, relationship, but we do butt heads a lot. And in sometimes it's like through working on myself, like the less hard I am on myself, the less hard I am on her. So I just realized like it's a kind of, I don't want to use the word, I may be using it out of context, the feedback loop kind of thing. Like you're working on yourself, and then in turn you start realizing that or let's just say you're loving yourself more, and then you start realizing you're loving aspects of people, you're loving attributes of people more and more. So yeah, I get um exactly what you're saying.
And before we move on to our next beautiful speaker, as you talk about like, you living with your sister, our closest relationships are kind of like mirrors to us. Sometimes they mirror our positive sides, or sometimes they mirror our negative sides or our fears. So that's one thing that 2020 has taught me as well, is learning who is a mirror to me and how to not let their, I guess, mirroring or their projection of my fear, come into my mind. Because before 2020, I was easily swayed by people's opinions. But during this year, just having the time to look at myself and look at, hey, this is me, this is what I'm doing, and I love who I am. Nobody can, take me off that. You know what I mean? Oh, looks like Laquita is gone. She'll probably join back. Something probably went wrong. All right, so let's go on to Drea. Could you tell us some about self-love and self-care tips that you learned during 2020?
Definitely. So this is the main thing that has taught me about self-care, because like again, if I can't like take care of myself, it's kind of hard to even like consider trying to take care of a whole nother being, especially when like the being is just way more advanced than you. Like babies are kind of advanced. Like I remember being young and having siblings. Like I have a lot of younger siblings than me, and I'm just like, oh, okay, like babies are, they're just babies. But these 2020 babies are just a different kind of breed. So I think that like one of the main things that I have is just like you were saying, like when you're able to be kinder to yourself, you're able to lend that to other people. So interacting with a child on a daily basis has helped me, be kinder to my child self, because it's just like, wow, like I was just as adventurous, and I was just as curious, and I was just as, this type of thing. And just being able to go to that space and do the work by working on a whole new project. I'm working on some older things that I had to situate with inside myself.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just really being kinder to myself just from looking at a child's point of view. Like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
like she's really like learning from home, and like she doesn't
Mm-hmm.
know anything about socializing or school. Like she's just getting here. As soon as she got here, it was everybody staying in their house, so this is kind of like her world, and she's able to channel so much into herself. And then in reverse, I'm able to learn like, okay, like she doesn't need me to be over top of her all of the time. And then I'm able to do that to myself, where I don't have to be over top of myself all the time. Dre, like, you can be free. Like, you don't have to be, because I'm very, 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 very critical of myself. Like, I'm so, like, telling everybody else, like, yeah, you got it. The world is yours. Me, I'm like, it's yours 9 to 5. After that, you got to do that. Like, I'm so tight on myself. So it's just like, oh, okay, like, I don't breathe, just calm down, roll through it.
I like that you use your child as a way that helps you to develop self-love. Because one thing children teach us is innocence. Because over time, with everything that goes on, especially being an adult and seeing what's going on in 2020, you lose your sense of innocence, you lose your sense of imagination. Like, I can't imagine a better world, I can't see beyond these things. But children have a sense of imagination, they have a sense of innocence where the world hasn't, perverted them yet. You know what I mean? So I love that you use your child as that. I think another thing that another self-care tip from 2020 for me was doing some inner child healing and addressing all the memories from childhood, teenagehood that keeps coming back. I don't know if that affected any of you during 2020, but for sure for me, I was reminded a lot about things that have happened in my childhood and how it took away my innocence and how I had to get back to a sense of peace with those memories. So, Santina, how about you? Could you tell us some more about self-love and self-care tips that you learned in 2020?
Self-love and self-care tips. I think everybody, and I appreciate the answers of the other panelists because I was in full agreement. I think everybody, just like how business goes through highs and lows, everyone personally goes through highs and lows, where there are times where you feel really down and you're very critical of yourself. For me, I know I'm guilty of that. And I know a lot of women, well, what I struggle with, if I'm talking about my personal thing, is wanting to be more fit. So 2020 allowed me to adopt a better workout regimen, and I started eating better. I started fasting. I started walking every morning, and I walk early in the morning, so I'm able to watch the sunrise. And so for me, that was some of the things that helped me get through um, 2020, because I definitely agree with them when they say you are what you eat. So as I started to eat better, I started to feel better. As I started to work out more in the mornings and started to watch the sunrise, I got a new appreciation and gratitude. So granted, some areas were not as perfect, but spiritually, I felt more grateful for the things that I did have. And so that's what kind of got me through.
Mhm. I love that you talk about a new eating regime
Mhm.
because I feel like during the quarantine, I remember seeing a lot of memes. People were like, I bought all these quarantine snacks and now they're all gone. You know what I mean? All my quarantine food is all gone. And when the quarantine had just started, I was falling into that. But as you said, Santina, I start to, put more intention into what I'm consuming or how I'm treating my body. So I started to exercise daily. I started to fast, well, intermittent fasting. I've never really done a full fast, but intermittent fasting where you fast between a couple hours. I did a lot of that during the beginning of the quarantine, and it really helped me not only with my energy levels, but also, with myself, because a lot of times we get, unhappy with our bodies, but we keep doing things that our bodies don't appreciate, and then we still
Exactly.
stay unhappy with those bodies. So, yeah. So, Laquita messaged us. She said that she got kicked out. I don't know if you guys just want to move on, and when she joins back in, we will um allow her to say her part on self-love. Do you guys just want to move on to the last part?
Yes.
Just for the viewers' sake and the people who will catch the replay. Okay, so we're gonna move on to sharing an exercise. So we're each gonna share an exercise that we did or we learned throughout 2020 that has helped us stay grounded. So we're gonna switch it up. I'm gonna start with Miss Drea. So you go ahead and start, Miss Drea, with your exercise.
So, a breathing exercise that I learned, I can't remember the fingers, but basically, it's like you take your pinky and your thumb or one of these fingers and you hold one nostril, breathe in, you hold it, you breathe in for 8, you hold it for 16, and then you switch to the other side and you let it out for 8. And, you just keep circulating that way. And what I kind of learned with it, you can like literally go on YouTube and type in nose breathing exercises or like something nose exercises, but it helps to balance, bring focus to your breath, which is like that original, spirit first contact, the first awareness is the breath. So it brings focus to your breath, but it also helps to like, center your mind and get
Your
the
brain.
different parts of your mind, circulating as well. So just in the morning or before I get in the shower at night or just in the bed, I'll just do that for like 5 minutes. And it just really helps to just bring a calmness just over me. But yeah.
Thank you. How about you, Santina? What exercise would you share with us?
2020 was the year of journaling for me.
Facts.
I always love writing, but this year I definitely got a new appreciation for digging deep in terms of asking myself certain questions that I never thought about before, and then journaling out. So that would be the exercise I recommend everyone to adopt.
Mhm.
It definitely gives you a lot of clarity. And sometimes, like I say, I don't know if it's magic, but there's some things that come to you when you start writing um, that somewhat takes over. So
Mhm.
I would say journaling would be the exercise.
What kind of journal prompts would you encourage people to use for beginners?
For beginners, you can start off with giving yourself a truthful evaluation. A lot of times people criticize us on things that we already know, but we just don't put it into action. So You could journal on things that you know personally that, okay, there are things I want to work on. What are these things? And you could journal what those things are you need to work on. What are the steps that you need to do to get whatever it is done. So you could start there. And then if there's any trauma, I loved psychology. So if there's any trauma, if there's any hurt, there are any things that are bothering you, you can start journaling those things, just to kind of give yourself a clarity or give yourself that release. Sometimes for us as women, we're all women on this. So for us, healing is talking, and sometimes we don't have that listening ear. So we could be our own listening ear. So journaling can be therapeutic in a way where you write down the things that are really stressing you just so you could get it out.
And for anybody who, studies or does not study the different dimensions of reality, we have the 1D dimension, just thought patterns, 2D dimension, you're putting it down on paper, and then the 3D dimension is physical. And a lot of people, who study manifestation say that when you take your thoughts and you put them down on paper, especially if you're trying to manifest something, it allows that to come in quicker. So I feel like, journaling, as you said, like, journaling about yourself and your emotions, but also journaling about your future. What do you want? Those are good things to do. You'll find that you'll get ideas, as you said, out of nowhere as to how you could go about doing something that once seemed so difficult to you. You'll just start getting the ideas coming through. Colleen, you go ahead now.
All right, so one exercise or practice that worked really well for me throughout 2020 is just giving gratitude, because well, you all know I always referring back to like my um I won't say flaws, but things that I found myself being caught up in. So I found myself, being, like too focused on like, yeah, what's not happening rather than what's happening. And then I realized that is what was really like blocking me from, like being totally free within myself. So I started to just be grateful, like, actually verbally express gratitude for what I have, like in the moment, or, thank you God for this, thank you ancestors, just expressing gratitude outright for any and everything that came my way. And I saw a huge, shift in, how I was feeling, less needing and less wanting, but more like in a space of, yeah, I have it already, content. So I think that was a major breakthrough, a major practice a practice that really made a major change for me.
And would you say having gratitude for both the negative and positive aspects of life allowed you to kind of, grow through 2020?
Yeah, I would say that it did, because honestly, I had to thank. Like sometimes I have to literally like say, thank you for this, because I remember when I read like whether it's good or bad, I would still say thank you, because when I read Eckhart Tolle, or
President
they'll
Power of
crucify
Now?
me. I don't know how to pronounce the man name.
The Power of Now?
Power of Now, no, New Earth.
Oh, okay, okay.
Like that was the first book, like spiritual book, I think I really read. And like he was talking about like, looking at things from a microcosmic level. And that really, like, honestly, that transformed my thinking up until today, like anything that happened. And honestly, like, it's so interesting that you asked that question, because earlier this morning, I think it was this morning, when I was thinking about something, I had to give thanks, because I was just thinking like, it wasn't for like those things happening, I don't think I would be who I am or where I am in my life. And so I don't know like why one thing happened, because sometimes we look at things and we say, okay, well, why did it have to happen, and we label it as bad. But he said,
Yeah.
he advised in his book, don't label things as bad or good. It's just a part of
Just let
the
it be.
right. It's just a part of the microcosm.
I like that answer a lot because during 2020, I also had to use gratitude a lot. And for the negative aspects too, like I had to tell, the Lord or the Almighty, whatever you want to call it, thank you for allowing this situation to happen, or thank you for allowing it to not happen, because I grew. Even if I grew through pain and through crying and affliction and all of that, I still grew. And it's only practicing forgiveness, and just allowing the memory to go past you. That's how you kind of continue the growth, right? So I'm still not seeing LaQuinta here. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my grounding exercise, or my self-love exercise, if you want to call it. It's more grounded. It's a meditation practice where you just sit. You want to sit up straight with your back straight, eyes closed. You want to sit upright. You could also sit down on the ground, and just imagine, this is for the root chakra, right? Our root chakra is our base chakra, the chakra that connects us to the groundedness, that connects us to the earth, and connects us to our sense of self. So you want to sit and imagine that there are roots coming out from your core. And if you guys can't see, I'm touching like at the where my stomach is, the very base underneath my navel. That's where your root chakra is, the very base of your self. Okay. And I imagine roots coming off from my root chakra, from the base of myself, and going down into the earth. And I imagine those roots going way down right into the core of the earth. And when I get there, I imagine that roots are coming up from the core of the earth into my root chakra. And what that allows, it allows you to, feel rooted and stable right here in the earth, present. You feel like the earth is feeding you, and you are feeding the earth with your energy. So that's one thing that I practice a lot during this year. And I try to do it. Sometimes I try to do it as soon as I wake up. Just sit down, imagine myself, channeling energy to the earth, and the earth channeling energy to me. Because when we talk about groundedness, come on, the earth is the main source of groundedness. The earth is the main principle. The earth is what we learn from. Earth. When people say earth, they talk about the ground. When you hear the ground, you think about the earth. So being connected to the earth is one way to really stay grounded. So that's my exercise. I see that we have a viewer saying, "Hey, hi Tanisha, thank you for being here. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask that, or anybody else who's viewing. If you're still here though, Tanisha." So we're gonna go ahead and close off. We're gonna close off with a short prayer, and then we're gonna close off with, well, it was supposed to be me, LaQuinta, and Drea who would be pulling some cards, but LaQuinta, she said that the stream kicked her off, and I guess she cannot join in. So that's kind of, disappointing. But we're going to still move on. So, Santina, please lead us off into a prayer, and we're going to go ahead and pull some tarot cards.
Okay, because I know we are spiritual people, but of many different backgrounds and beliefs. I'll just stick with Almighty Source, if that's okay with everyone. We thank the Almighty Source for bringing us here together, connecting from around the world, and hopefully impacting the viewers that are tuned in now and will tune in into the future. And we thank you for this opportunity to be on this platform to discuss grounding. And may the words of our mouth and the meditation of our heart be acceptable in your sight, Almighty Creator. And may they bless anyone that is going to view this streaming today. We thank you.
Ashe. Thank you. I want to go ahead and just ask that we take a deep breath in to just center ourselves. I'm going to go ahead and ring my singing bowl. We're going to take a deep breath in, hold it for 3 seconds, and then I'll ring the singing bowl for us to breathe out. Okay, so on the count of 3, take a deep breath in, hold for 3, 1, 2, 3, breathe out. Okay. So, Drea, do you have your cards ready? I don't.
Yes, ma'am. I chose the Whispers of Love Oracle deck.
Oh, I love that deck.
What's the theme? Because 2020
As we
it has
shuffle,
been a lot.
yeah.
this, like, as far as like things that's going on, like astrologically, like things are moving forward. Like there's a lot of breakthroughs, there's a lot of things that have halted to create breakthroughs. But like Jupiter has gone direct, Saturn's about to go direct next week. So a great portion of 2020 things have been stay at home, because in the sky things have been at
Yeah.
home in Capricorn, which is
Yeah.
like that grounded earth energy. So it's just like stay your
Yeah.
ass home, you know. But now that they're moving and they're progressing and they're making moves for their self, like, we about to be
Mhm.
making moves too. Like things are about to
I like that you mentioned astrology because a lot of people think that, this spiritual thing or this astrology thing is just mumbo jumbo. But really, there's a lot of truth to how the planets affect our life. Just recently I did a video on the Mars retrograde, and in that video I was literally just channeling a message, and one of the messages said that pay attention to the news because they will say something today and retract their statements tomorrow. So said, so done. I was paying attention to the news, and the CDC, they made an update on COVID saying that, I think it was like one of our recent updates about the transmission of COVID through air, and then they retracted that statement like 21 hours later, that they said that the statement was wrong and that they had to revise that statement. So a lot of people, any of you who are viewing and who are not into astrology, take some time to understand the planets, or it takes a while, but just take some time to learn what's going on in the planets, so that we learn more what's going on our planet Earth, right? So Drea, are you ready for the cards? You're muted. You're muted.
so muted. Okay.
Yeah.
I was saying just in time because that mama rode up on me like, girl, how long you about to be? Are you okay? Hold on. Okay, so I pulled three cards just to, like, the first card is just going to be the past, what's had been leading up to this point. The second card is just going to be the current energy that is available to work with, and the third is just outcomes based off working with that energy in a way that pushes you forward in a productive, direction, because you have the choice to partake in any energy. I know. Hold on. I know. We doing a tarot reading. We got some breastfeeding. We doing it all. But okay, so let's start with the first card. So the first card, simple acts of kindness. Kindness re-energizes and brings happiness to those around you. So leading up to now, a lot of us have been doing things for the sake of doing it because of the worldly situation that we're in. It has pushed people into wanting to tap more and wanting to be more into their natures, wanting to be more into their family systems and the communities that they have built, and observing what type of community have I actually built, or is this community something that I actually want to be a part of moving forward. So all of that leading up to this point, you're able to see where have you been allotting your energy, who have you been allotting your energy to, in what ways have you been allotting your energy, and has that been beneficial to you as far as your evolutionary growth as a spirit, as a soul, what you came here to do. Because incarnating into this life, you didn't, necessarily know, oh, I'm gonna have a brother and I'm gonna have a sister and this is gonna be my mom. You came into this body, you came into this being with your own, soul agenda, and you carry, you pick up things along the way. But this card is coming out in the current position, which is about embracing your emotions. Embracing your emotions is embracing your water element, and embracing that initial primordial being when you first, came into carnation, tapping into that space of where were you at vibrating emotionally, with passions and things that give you drive and give you push towards your direction in life. So during this time, like a lot of people are saying how like they're depressed and, you know, have a lot of anxiety and not really sure how to not really sure how to deal with anxiety and depression, because a lot of that is coming on from embracing other people's emotions versus embracing their own. So again, that's why that middle card is always about the energy that we all have available to tap in. So not even just for you, but for all people. Because you can, you know, very well have a lot of energy to start a business or propel in your business in some way. And so do a lot of other people. So do a lot of other companies. But um, people would much rather give their energy to other entities and other sources versus channel it into their own source. Like if you have a business, they would much rather put 110% of their energy into someone else's business just because it's more established at some point versus putting that energy into their own. So just the last card here, love who you are with and love the ship in which you came on. Because this is, again, you can be on a lot of ships. You can be on a lot of different journeys. You can be on a ship and you can be somebody's crew on their ship. But you can also have your own ship and have your own crew and be set out on your own voyage. So definitely with all of these planets starting to go direct, a lot of people are going to see the type of ships that they were in, the type of relationships that they were in, not just romantic or platonic, but also business-wise, like actually drawing in ships that are sustainable, not just, oh, they're going to come around once in a while, but, you know, even on many of the coasts, along the Ivory Coast and the all these different coasts, the Gold Coast, and it was called those things because they were known to be able to supply and demand that need. So you have to just align with what need are you trying to supply and demand? Are you supplying the need of scarcity? Because then you'll be filling that demand for scarcity. Are you, you know, just that for, I don't want to take too long, but because the message is trying to come through, but definitely just paying attention to the ships that you're creating in your life.
No, that was a good message. Thank you for that. So I think the cards that I pulled out here, I'm just gonna touch on them quickly. We're not gonna spend much time on this. It kind of ties in what we spoke about throughout the stream. We have island, solitude, Gaia, nurturing, and waterfall, effortless. Remember, we talked a lot about water. Santina talked about going to the beach. Over the summer, I traveled, thankfully, oh my God, yes. And I spent a lot of time at the beach as well. So I think that is just further confirmation for those of you who do want to kind of get into taking spiritual baths or spending more time at the ocean, spending more time at the lake, spending more time at water. Water also represents our subconscious mind and and our conscious mind as well, but mainly the subconscious mind. So meditating at a body of water allows you to actually tap into your subconscious mind, the wave patterns of the water, similar to the wave patterns on the brain. You tune into the water, it tunes into your brain, and you feel a sense of peace. So that's one message here: spending more time at water, in water, or by water, whatever. Another two other things I want to talk about here is island, solitude, and Gaia, nurturing. Gaia is earth, right? That's the spiritual whatever name for earth, Gaia. We spoke about groundedness, we spoke about earth for the entire stream. So what is that telling us? That's telling us to, one, allow earth to nurture us. So the things that you eat, allow it to be not only, you know, just meat, but also add some herbs to your diet, add some plant-based foods to your diet. And also get outside, get your shoes off, get your feet into the ground, walk barefoot for some time. Don't really worry about who's watching you walk barefoot. Just walk barefoot. I do that all the time. Some people watch me like I'm crazy. Some people don't really care. So, you know, you don't really have to worry about who's watching. You just have to go ahead and do it. Also nurturing yourself with island solitude. Some of us feel like we, especially in this Virgo, well, no, we're in Libra season now, but some of us, we're in this sense of just wanting to be with ourselves, especially after 2020, all of this quarantine. We spent a lot of time with ourselves, we spent a lot of time in solitude. Now it's time to also nurture ourselves during that solitude. It's not just to think about, the quarantine phase and all of these things that are happening, but let's think about ourselves first before a chance. Let's do some selfish love, and let's not just give all our love away and all our attention away to what's going on in the world, but what's going on with us. We're important as well. So that's it. I want to thank everybody who came to the stream and who will watch the review. All of the ladies' information, their Instagram actually is in the description box if you want to follow them and learn some more about their teachings, understand their platform some more. And I just want to thank the ladies again. La Quinta, sorry that you was kicked out, but I thank you for being here. And any of you want to say some last words?
It was nice meeting everybody. I'm happy to have this conversation with you guys. I'm excited to listen back to the playback just because there was a lot of gems that I may have not caught, but I know that they were there, especially about the financial grounding, just trying to even understand that whole concept as someone who's new to being an entrepreneur. That's something to really tap into. So
and you just published your book. What's the name of your book?
It's A Girl Named Joe. It's a fiction about my grandmother in Baltimore, but yeah.
Okay, nice. All right. Any other last words?
Very nice, lady. It was definitely a pleasure to meet you all. Thank you for having me again on this platform. I enjoyed being able to listen to this.
Thank you so much. How about you, Colleen?
Thank you, Kadel.
No, thank you all. What you talking about?
Yeah,
All
and I
right.
really hope that the
So
audience, people who tune in, I hope that they learn something and able to apply to their life.
mm-hmm. Oh, look at that. It was just 11:11. Well, 1:11:11 as you said that.
Yeah.
So, hey, look at that. The universe is with us here. So, I wish you all, a good rest of the week. Have a blessed one. And thank you guys so much for being here. And thank you, all the viewers as well. Bye.
Peace.
Peace.